Honey has been eyeing that door outside when I go in and out to the Tarbis. I think she may be contemplating a jailbreak. So I've been working on the Shelby AMT Mustang, and I got to tell you, this kit's actually been fighting me a fair bit. I mean, the engine and everything has gone together like you would expect, but when you start building the interior sections, there's some fit issues that start to come into play. And I've actually had to do a little bit of grinding and clipping and things to get a few things to fit. The body panels don't really fit all that well. I've had to use a lot of putty. Now I've been using both the Tamiya Basic and the Tamiya White. Apparently the big deal between the difference of them is that the white dries quicker. Some people say it has a finer grit to it, but I've found the Basic, the gray stuff, is actually a little more, I guess you could say, liquidy and filled in a little bit easier. But anyway, both of them work. And I had to use more than I should. I was working on my kit bash for the ME262 and using some of both putties on that, and mostly gray. But back to the car, it did sand down nicely, though. I finally got more or less things to fit. The 262, when I sanded it, yeah, okay. I'm using some stock styrene. But, of course, it was prime sand. There were a couple of go-arounds to get the Shelby to look good enough. Of course, once you put the color on, it looks better. But even the fit of the hood and the trunk, I mean, I actually had to put some putty in those seams. I was kind of disappointed in the fit on this kit. It just seems like it was more work than it should have been for pretty basic components. For some reason, you got to cut a big section out to make room for the trunk, which is in the instruction sheet. But, they can't all be gems, I guess. The only Tamiya car I've built was that Caterham, and it just fell together. But the late Lindbergh and Monogram cars, the Johan kits I built, went together better. I've also been working on the Stuka and the, that's being modified for the kit bash. And the Aredo's mostly done. Of course, I'm doing 3 kit bashes for one diorama, so a lot of work left to do on that. But it's starting to come together. And the nice thing is I can bounce back and forth. Now, between projects, one's hardening. I went ahead and decided to paint the car white. Then I also have this little red arrow that the one I got from Ian for, I think he gifted it to me for a couple of bucks because it didn't have a canopy. So I was working on those at the same time, but I decided to tape off the stripes instead of use the decals. And of course, overspray was the issue, which no matter how much you try to seal up even good Tamiya tape, somehow there's always those spots and I was careful not to get too close or lay it on too heavy at one time. But anyway, I was debating on whether or not to try and retape it and spray it, but I figured I'd probably just get the same thing again. And then I was thinking, well, what if I just touch it up with decantable paint, touch it up, and that never worked. So I wound up using just the flat white. It's nice to be able to go around, while one thing's hardening, you go to another. And of course, my stripes aren't perfectly straight. Also, again, back to the fit issues, had trouble getting the front end of the car to sit down. It just sits too high. And I ground off a bunch of plastic underneath to try and and it sits better than it did, but it's still, I'm not sure what's going on there. I've got those clamps on there super tight. But anyway, I also dragged out the Impala from Supernatural and the Keeler's Customs Topolino, because those are going to be the other 2 cars I want to build for the upcoming muscle car build. But working on the muscle car build and the kit bash build at the same time lets me move from project to project, and that's pretty cool. So that's how the day went. Oh, by the way, I didn't realize it, but our last live stream was 100. I had misnumbered them, and I caught it and fixed it today. And there's actually a few live streams I didn't even count from way back when I first started that were like coffees and chats. But anyway, that's where we're at for today, guys. So take care of yourselves. Hope you're doing well. And as always, model on.